Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. Today, we're going to be talking about A Shadow in the Ember, which is the prequel to the From Blood and Ash series. But before we get into all of that, we have this amazing co-host here, and let's see how is everyone doing. How are you guys doing? Good?
I'm good. I
Are you
just
guys
got out of the shower,
excited?
so my hair's wet. Sorry for the look I'm going for at the moment.
You're fantastic. What about you, Tori?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to chat about this one.
Okay, so let's just start a little bit by presenting us and sharing briefly how were your feelings about this book. Was it the first time that you read it? Hannah, I know it was your first. And what was your rating? And, just to start that way. Hannah, if you will.
So I actually just finished this morning. And I'm kind of like iffy on my rating. I'm leaning towards a 3-star.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of on the fence at the moment. But yeah, I'm leaning towards a 3-star. This was the first time I read this.
Yes.
I read a lot of fantasy romance, so if you check out my channel, you'll see lots of fantasy romance, fantasy and romance, and fantasy romance. But so yeah, but for this one, I had some mixed thoughts about the world building and the writing style and the plot.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like conflicted, but I liked the characters and their dynamic.
Okay.
Which is why I'm kind of conflicted.
Okay, yeah. We'll get to all of that, hopefully, but I think 3 stars is fair, although to me, in my heart, it's a little bit painful. What about you, Tori?
So this was my second time reading it, and I listened to parts of the audio because this is still pretty fresh in my mind because it came out last year, I think. So I just listened to like the main parts that I knew that I wanted to like refresh so we could talk about them.
Yeah.
So the first time I read it, I gave it 4 stars. And I think I'm sticking with that. I think I rated it 5 on Goodreads, but in my like actual review, I had it as like 4. So I think I'm pretty sure I did like actually a 4.5.
Okay.
But I don't know, rereading it, I kind of have some thoughts. I have some thoughts.
Okay. And do you want to present a little bit what is your channel so that everyone go and subscribe to your channel?
Oh yeah. Well, my channel is Novel Life. I kind of do mostly romance. I do fantasy romance, contemporary, dark, some historical romance stuff, not always, but yeah, pretty much all romance. And yeah.
Glenn, we are also really missing Jess from the channel Honest Fiction. She is hopefully having a blast. So just let us know if you eventually get here through the comments, and hi to you. Everyone also go and subscribe to Jess' channel. And as for me, I read Shadow in the Ember 2 times already. And this time I actually kind of like reread parts of the book because I did the last reread like in November last year. So it was really, really, really fresh. And to me, I still sticking with the 4 stars. I was telling Hannah before, like if I really think about those 4 stars, I'm not sure that it's a 4-star read, but I remember how I feel, right? Like how everything, I don't know, it's just a comfy read at this point to me. So I really like it. So let's start by just sharing your opinions a little bit about the world building. Like this book to me had so much stuff if you compare it with other books that I've read, like in fantasy romance, which I reckon I have not read that much, but it has so many stuff packed in not so many pages. What did you guys think about all of that? How it was built? And hi, appreciate all the reviews you do, Isa. Thank you. Also, hi, welcome.
I think that the plot definitely went faster in this one than the last one. I feel like there was less lulls. It was certainly like jam-packed to the point where I couldn't, considering the fact that it is a new series and it's all new characters, I feel like so many were introduced that and and the plot was going so fast that I didn't necessarily remember who was who or
Yes.
how they played their part. So I felt like everything could have been introduced a little bit slower, and she could have maybe cut out a lot of the extra frill and extra description if she wanted to hit a certain page count.
Yeah. Do you think, though, as the first time that you read it, that it was like a complex world?
I thought it was overly complex. Yeah, it was definitely. But I think I'm having like a thing right now with her. Like, I'm just like, I'm getting kind of. This is the 4th book I've read in this world, and I still don't get it. like I don't really get who's who in terms of like power levels and like new different like kinds of god-ish people keep being introduced, and it's so I don't know. It's a little bit, I would say, overly complex, a little bit convoluted, but
yeah.
I can definitely see that point, specifically with this new series. So compared to like the From Blood and Ash world, I thought that the way that she did the world building was very simplistic. And going from that series, and I've reread those books quite a few times, at least the first 3 in that series, quite a few times. So it's kind of, for me, I feel like it's in my head, it's kind of like second nature now, because I feel like I have a better understanding. So going into this book, I didn't feel like it was overly complex or too complex. I felt like it was on the same level as kind of the From Blood and Ash world, and that's probably because I have a better understanding of the From Blood and Ash world going into this one. I will say, though, in this book, the world building with who is who, the gods, the primals, the this, the that is very confusing to someone who is reading this for the first time. I don't know why she chose to do that.
Agreed.
I don't know why she chose to kind of like open up Pandora's box with all of that, because in the From Blood and Ash world, it was just kind of like the background. Like, oh yeah, this is the history of this, world, the gods and this and that. And it was so easy to just put it in a box and be like, okay, not needed right now. She opened it up in this world, and I'm not sure why she is releasing them this way, because I feel like it is very confusing to readers.
Yeah. Did you guys feel that it was done, like, if you compare From Blood and Ash and then this book, like how she approached to this story, it was done slightly better, at least, in terms of fantasy elements and
Yes, I think she learned a lot. I don't know when she wrote this book compared to, how she's writing the other series. So I don't know where she kind of stopped that one and wrote this one. But I will say the prologue for me like grabbed me and drew me into the story more than I guess the first book like From Blood and Ash. I was immediately intrigued, especially with like the prologue and like the first couple chapters.
Totally. I think that's a fair assessment. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think the thing that intrigued me the most, especially in the beginning, was I think I immediately kind of understood Sarah better than Poppy, and I had liked her better, so I immediately was more attached to her as a character, and I'm a character-driven reader. So that made a difference for me with this one, and I think that's why that and the character dynamics are why I'm so kind of like in between everything, because I did feel more connected to Sarah than Poppy.
I think at least to me was the same. I kind of liked Sarah a little bit more. To me, she felt certainly not perfect, and she did things that was like, ugh, just infuriating. But at the same time, I feel that I liked her a little bit more. So yes, 100% Poppy. It's like you were kind of like the original, but not the one in my heart that remains. But that's cool. What are your thoughts about Sarah, Tori?
So when I first read this book, just as a whole, I felt very conflicted because and I think I've said this probably in a live show that I've done when I read this book, or maybe a vlog when I read this book. Hi, Jess.
Hi, Jess. Sorry, couldn't be there. Completely agree that it feels like Jennifer and Armandra expected readers to have read From Blood and Ash starting. Yes, I really agree with that. So also we have hi from Germany, hi from Spain, and also Sarah winning Poppy. Yay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
See, I don't know. I feel like I'm in the minority that I love Poppy more than Sarah. But it's not like very much more, is that I feel like if you compare the first book of From Blood and Ash to A Shadow in the Ember, there's a lot of similarities that she, how do I say this? I don't know if she chose to do that because she wants to show how similar Sarah and Poppy are. But I also don't know if she did that because people loved Poppy so much that she was like, I can create kind of this new world set in the same universe, but like years earlier.
Yeah.
So a lot of people said, I remember when this book came out, that they didn't like it because they were like, oh, this is like a copy of From Blood and Ash, which you definitely can see the similarities between the two. But I think she chose to do that because what she's doing for the series. But we can't really say that because this is only, I think, the second book's only out, A Light in the Flames.
Yes.
One. So it's hard to see kind of what she's doing and for me to like defend those kind of comments, just because I'm like, I get it. It's a fair assessment, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like her and Poppy are still very similar. That some days I love Sarah more, some days I love it goes back and forth.
The one thing is I feel like she was kind of contradicting herself on how similar they were, because like Sarah says like, I'm not innocent. I've slept around. You know what I'm saying? She's been with other men. But then it was like, oh, he did this like in those books I read, which is literally like what Poppy said all the time. Like, oh, like in those naughty books I read. And I'm like, that's just, it doesn't make sense for her character. So some of the ways she tried to make them so similar didn't make sense for the character that she was creating. But because I like Sarah better, I kind of just like tossed that aside. But there was little things I noticed like that didn't quite make sense. Like, for her character, it was like she's trying to make her similar to Poppy, which I have a theory based on the way this ended. Why?
Okay.
But
I the way I see it is like Serafina is like the little bit more experienced, a little bit grown up version of Poppy. Like Poppy is like 18 years old in my head. I don't know how old she actually is, but like she's 18 years old in her books, and Sarah is like 22, 23. So she has just like a little bit more experience, a little bit more knowledge. You know, she's not veiled like Poppy. She kind of like has stepped past that. You know what I mean? So it's interesting what she's doing, and I have theories too, not to spoil anything, but like I have theories, and I'm wondering where she's going to go with this and see how it comes out.
Totally. I think that so both are really similar, but to me, Sarah kind of like started in a point in which she is less pampered, right, than Poppy. And so I think that has waking her up to the world. She's kind of like this assassin, and it really created to me like Selena vibes at the beginning. And I really liked how she was like, I will do this and that, and I will face my destiny, but also having control or a little bit of control of the magic. So I think it evolves from what we see, but it's really, really, really similar overall, the book, to me, to how From Blood and Ash, like book one, was created. Both kind of like the book, it's to me divided in this part where we first have the characters that are not knowing who each other is, and then they realize that they've known each other. Then we also have kind of like these nicknames. There's so many similarities, but
so many.
Before we move forward, just let's say hi to everyone here that is adding comments. So, hey, just finished the book this morning. Great. Let us know what you think about it. I love Poppy too. So, yay. I mean, I also love her. Then Daddy Niktos is everything, which I hardly agree. What do you guys think about Niktos?
I loved him. Honestly.
Tell me more.
Like for some reason, the main male characters that she writes from Blood and Ash and Shadow in the Ember, or the Flesh and Fire, the name she uses, I'm like, why are you doing this to me? But the male characters that she writes, for some reason, I really love them, and they kind of are easier to separate in my head of who is who than the female characters, which is interesting. But yeah, I love him.
What are your thoughts, Hannah?
I liked Nyktos a lot, and I liked their dynamic. I think just generally I like Hawk better, but I did like Nyktos.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Hawk
it's one of
is
those
kind of like Hawk is like
really.
That's interesting. I don't know. I feel like the same way how I feel about Poppy and Serafina is how I feel about Nyktos and Hawk. Is that like he's like 25, 26, and like Hawk is like 18, 19. You know what I mean? It's
right, very similar.
Yeah, very similar in that, like how I compare them.
To me, Nyktos, it's also everything. Like, I think he is the perfect blend of being cocky, but also being sweet. And he is somewhat naive. And he at least seems to have like more wit. I'm not sure. Like, at least I feel that with Cass, we start to see him as a very confident character, right? And he then falls in love with Poppy and he starts to just really admire her and it's just super obsessed. And I feel that his character over time is just not as powerful. But with Nyktos, I think that he still really likes and adores Sarah, but he also has his opinions and he still shines. That's at least what I felt. So
no, I 100% agree. I think the From Blood and Ash world is Poppy's world, and we are living in it. Yeah. And then in this world, it's more of like Sarah and Nyktos. Well, from this book going forward, like them two going forward and piece things really together. There's definitely that difference that I see too.
Totally. Let's see some comments here. We have from Jess. I feel like Sarah is more confident from the start. Yeah, I agree. Even though she does question herself in the first book, she just feels more mature character. Exactly what Tori was saying. So yeah, 100%. Then we have here, it took me a while to finish this one, but I really enjoyed it the whole time. I love the switch within us when what?
I will say though. When what? It really annoyed me that she took basically the same thing that she did in From Blood and Ash with Hawk and Cass, and she did the exact same because it ruined it. Like From Blood and Ash, I was like, they're not the same character, like they're not the same person, and then it all comes out, and I was like, oh my gosh, like so surprised. And as soon as she introduced Ash, I was like, oh, I know who he is.
Yeah,
I know. You're not gonna play me this time, Jill. I know you.
No, absolutely. I actually think that's one of the, like, a decision that didn't really add value because you see it coming and it just, you see it coming so much that it's like, what are you trying? You're trying here. Like, and also it took like a long while for Sarah to discover. It's not that it's for 50 pages, like, you know it, she knows it, but then, you know, a little bit of drama. It takes like almost, if not part, but almost half of the book or 40% of the book. So it was nuts. We have here, Jess, I feel like Estelle is more charming, charismatic, while Nyktos equals daddy. Yes, I can agree that Nyktos is less charming, but to me, he's like, I don't know, he's naive. I love that.
He's also a little bit more, I feel like, rough around the edges.
Yeah. Okay, we continue knowing what you were saying. I really loved the lovers to enemies trope. Yeah, the author does a great job of that. Agree. When he can switch from caring love it to scary primal. Yes. I mean, let's discuss about the primals.
Yeah.
Well, what? Especially if you don't mind, Hannah, please let us know. Because I really like, I read it. I thought I understand it. And then when I reread it, I was like, cool, I now have it all in my mind. Then when I needed to plan my video, I realized that I did not have everything as clear in my mind. So I'm really keen to know, what were your thoughts about all this primals god thing?
Apparently they're like the super gods. Yes. And they, I mean, I guess we learned in this book that it's not about how old you are, like the primal job of being a primal is passed down, right?
Yes.
So there's that, and but then apparently there's all these other things that are gods that aren't gods, like these, like, I think it was like a playoff of the Greek seers. What were those called? In Greek mythology, fates. Yeah, the fates. It's, and then the Watcher people that are also god, not gods, and
victors. Yeah,
victors.
Mm-hmm.
How is everyone a god, not god? I don't understand that. Like, can these just be a race of people and say, like, they're all? You can't have that many god, not gods, and different levels of gods, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. And not to mention all the different weird creatures that attack them. I feel like they're all different kinds of them too, and I don't understand the difference between them. I think most of them are undead in some way, but I don't know. Some turn a goo and some turn to ash, and some apparently some of them are gods. Apparently they woke up some gods that were sleeping, and then some of them was them. I have no idea what happened in this book, honestly, other than the romance part. Zero idea.
What are your thoughts, Tori?
No, I mean, that's a fair assessment. Like, I think that in that case, I don't think JLA did the best job with explaining all those things, because to be 100% honest, I have the basic understanding, thinking like Issa, like I'm like you, where I'm like, yeah, I think I got it. But then you go and like try and describe it, and I'm like, I don't even think I could describe it to you. how it is. I do think that the primals, that's pretty easily understood. And I like that you can pass it down. You know what I mean? How it's not something that you continuously stay. But then you have like Penelope showed up, which I thought that was interesting. She showed up with, what's his name? Holland? Sir Holland?
Yeah.
Her like trainer, basically what Victor is to Poppy. Right. But then that's the thing. When you read this, you start to pick up on things from the From Blood and Ash world that you're like, okay, is this just another book to try and explain things more? You get the blood trees and the blood forest and what that means, of how it's like spilled blood of a god, where we see that happen to Poppy, and then they go through, like, there's comparisons that you see, you understand what a victor is, and it's like, okay, well, Victor is named Victor, so I'm like,
what was with that?
Cool.
What it
it's very confusing. And then you have Sir Holland, which you think he's a victor, and they're like, okay, cool, I think I understand it, and it's like, no, just kidding, he's a fate.
Yes.
So it
is a lot.
It is a lot, yeah.
I think she went. Sorry, go.
Go ahead.
No, I think she went a little too far with the lore here. Like, the story with the primals, I think, again, like, pretty, not necessarily easy, but it's like primal of death, primal of life. That's what I have. And then there were all these different gods. But then again, we have easier creatures like the dragon that are fantastic and that we've seen before a little bit, but then we see lots of other stuff, and it's just like, I'm not even sure what I'm reading. Like, if tomorrow a ghost will come into this story, I will believe it, right? Like, or a zombie, something like that, I will believe it. Like, anything can be happening in this book at this point. So
I think that what she needed to do was maybe like not introduce so much at once. And then she wouldn't have to have these question and answer periods. If you're trying to expand the world to that point, that get there at by the third book, we don't need to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. And that way characters can discover these things more naturally, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But then it's like you said, I love the Drakens. The Drakens were really cool. And I liked how you like watching like the younger ones and their dynamic.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, I think, to see Reaver when he's basically a baby, and then in the From Blood and Ash world, you'll see him as an adult. That is pretty cool. And I will say, the things that I took away from this book, the romance between Sarah and Nyktos, obviously. The Draken, obviously. Primals are primals, and that Ash is the primal of death, but he's really the primal of life, and something switched with the dads. I took that away from that.
Right.
But it's actually his Ember is in Sarah. So he's not actually the primal
Yes.
life.
See, I read this like twice now, and I'm just like, still, there's some things that just like for some reason the way that she did it, and she does love the question and answer thing, which bugs me. I mean, I get that if you're newer to fantasy and like this is, I feel like, more fantastical than some of the other things that she's written. So I mean, like, I give her grace, you know, like fair enough, right? But it's like I'm tired of the question and answer thing.
Please change.
I'm tired of the female character asking all of the questions just to get all of the answers, to tell us what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Show us, not necessarily tell us this way. Yeah. Hannah, were you going to say something? I think it was about the Ember in Nyktos or not. I saw you doing like that.
Yeah. So, okay. So are these twins the same twins as the other one was the twins? That there was the twin in
No. So Nyktos' dad had a twin, which is Colis, right? And then at the beginning of time, Nyktos' dad was the primal of life, and then Colis was the primal of death. But then they had a war, and Colis ended up being the primal of life, and then Nyktos' dad, the primal of death. But each of them had kind of like an ember in them of their original power, as to say. And so it seems that when Nyktos was born, he had this magic or this ember, it seems, but he was mainly the primal of death, right? And the ember of life was put into Sera. And then Nyktos will have children, and those are going to be the twins that we will see in the From Blood and Ash series, right?
Oh, I didn't even put that together. Okay.
Right?
I'm glad you said that, because I didn't.
Is this true though? Is this true? Like, this is what I think.
I thought that it was Nyktos' brother that is actually Poppy's dad, though. Remember, you think it's Nyktos, but then you find out it's the brother.
I don't believe that Nyktos has a brother.
No, I don't think he has a brother.
No, Nyktos' kid's brother. Like, they thought she knows. Oh my gosh, it was at the end of the third book. Didn't we find out this whole time? She was like, "Oh, so Nyktos is my grandfather. Oh wait, so Nyktos is my father. Oh no, because it's Nyktos' brother that's my dad."
Nyktos
Her dad
is going to have 2
in
sons.
the last book.
Nyktos is going to have 2 sons, which are going to be, and one of them is going to be the father of Poppy.
Just said it. It's Nyktos' son Iris, who's a twin to Malek.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, Malek. So she thinks Malek is her dad, but then it turns out it's
actually
exactly.
Iris.
Well, let's see this here. But they are both his kids. Yes. So
okay.
Nyktos will have those 2. Yes.
Thank you, Jess.
I'm not. Yes. But yes, I didn't want to say the names in case. But just a warning. This is full of spoilers. I hope you realize that.
We knew this, and we learned this in the last book.
Yeah, we did. So, but yes, as Jess also said here, I read A Shadow in the Ember 3 times, and I still don't think I actually have a full grasp of gods, not gods. It's too much. I think that the story was too complex. I don't know if we needed these. But I was a primal, but then it was changed. But then I have an ember, and then it changed. I don't think that we needed all of that.
I was telling Isa, like, before we went live, that I read the first Malazan book, and it was like less confusing than this series. Like, I read a Gardens of the Moon, and like it was
that gives me hope. That honestly gives me hope to read.
No, you won't like it.
You don't? I don't?
You won't like it. No, I don't like it either.
I don't believe. Yes, that's what I thought, but I always want to, be wrong and like it.
Yeah, try it. It put me into a slump.
Yeah, Tori, I'm not sure if you know this series, but it's Malazan, the Book of the Fallen. It's a book. Well, it's a series that is super long. That is considered to be kind of like super complex. Like everyone is like this series that it's a mess. It's just you need to go with the flow. You just need to, just continue. And it's considered to be like peak epic fantasy, but really complex. And Hannah is basically saying that this was more confusing.
Who's the author of that?
Steve
Erickson. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No.
No.
I don't do like
very grim dark.
Yeah, I don't do epic fantasy. No, this is as far as I'll go. Like with JLA. But then again, like I give her. Oh, okay. I've seen that cover before.
Yeah.
Okay. But like I give her grace because this is like her first fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's definitely not. Well, between this one and From Blood and Ash, like this world.
Yes.
I give her grace. I mean, there's definitely things that she can definitely do different, obviously. And that's why I'm interested to see where it's going to go, because I feel like I didn't really have a full understanding until, what was the last book? The Crown of Gilded Bones and the War of Two Queens. That's where, for Poppy and Castile's story, where things really started to click for me. And so knowing how it went with those books, I'm giving it hopefully until books 3 or 4 in this Flesh and Fire series to hopefully I hope that things start clicking, because if not, then I'm like, okay, we gotta have a talk, JLA. Okay.
Agreed.
She's really great at the building like the relationships and the romance aspect, and that's what keeps me going back for more. And that's what really I enjoyed about this book, especially, is I really enjoyed the romance, and I liked the characters. Even if the characters piss me off in her books, they're memorable, and that's important for me, and I enjoy reading them.
I think it's something similar to what we have here, right? It's almost like the writing. It's so confusing, but I can help but love the characters and the development, and I will add the romance. And so I was wondering, which were your favorite scenes of this book?
Ooh. I will say, though, going off this comment first, is that she does a really good job with core characters, like the very core characters. Those are very memorable. You remember them, but I feel like one of her weaknesses is when you expand that, which is you're expanding the fantasy world and you're expanding the knowledge and trying to learn everything. That's when I feel like she doesn't do a great job of, like, it seems like she doesn't really know what's going on, so she's just kind of like throwing these things out there and not really describing it. So I totally get that.
And following that line, what do you guys think about the secondary characters? Because I think that they are there, but they are not like the focus of this story. But there are some strong secondary characters, I think. But they were just like footnotes at times, I felt.
Yes.
Did you agree?
I didn't find any of the secondary characters for me in this book to be strong. There was like cute dragon scenes and things like that, but I think and this could be my own fault because I did read it so fast that I didn't have time to sink in. So I don't know if it's like a me thing, but for me personally, I didn't find the secondary characters to be memorable, but like I said, that could be my own fault.
No, I think it's fine. I mean, I really hated Tavius, and I think that he was an evil character, and I think that like he definitely brought strong emotions in me, and I was like, okay, I'm now mad, and I not liked, but I appreciated the fact that she was able to create these scenes with him. And also I thought that the sister Ezra was also kind of like a little heroine on herself. I could really easily see a story being told under her point of view and how she does everything that she's doing. But well,
and that was my favorite scene, was when she put the hilt of the whip in his mouth at the end.
Really?
That was probably my favorite, yeah.
But you are sadistic.
One of my favorites is I had to look up like how it goes. But it's chapter 33 and 34 when Ash is like, you carry an ember of life, or like for Ash, it's starting to like click exactly what Seraphina is. So that's one thing that I do like, because I feel like once that starts happening, he kind of understands Sarah and like everything that she's doing and how she is a little bit better. So I feel like it's this kind of like molding, coming together moment, if that makes sense. I'm using my hands a lot because I don't know the words for it.
I love it. Jess is here saying that her favorite scene is Nikdas coming out of the floor when Sarah's stepbrother has her chain.
Oh, yeah.
So this is definitely one of my favorites too. But I love it when the male characters get like super
powerful and like pissed.
Yeah, there's a moment with Castile, and I think it's in the next book, so I don't want to say anything.
I liked at the end when there was the 3 gods and Nyktos showed up and like he was like in full on form, like at the end of like everything shook or whatever. I like that one.
Yeah, that gave me kind of like Akodar vibes with Rhysand.
Yes.
Yep.
True story.
100% agree.
Yeah. I
It
think
did feel like very much like Rhysand entering Under the Mountain.
yes. Yes. And now that I think about it, like he's actually pretty similar. Like it's cocky, but it has like a sweet spot. I think that to me the best scene is still the scene of the lake. Like there was so much tension at the beginning of the book. Is it like when they are like it was very Pocahontas everything. Like they were naked in the lake, supposedly alone.
Yeah.
Then they're like, "Oh, you're there." And it's just so ridiculous. And I always love those moments that it's like such a coincidence. I just loved it. When I was reading it both times, I was like, ooh, that feeling. Yeah. Wait, from Jess from Blood and Ash, when Castile pulls out the guy's heart when he insults Poppy.
Yes, that's one of them.
Yes, definitely.
I think the Draken too, as she said, side characters, Reaver. The Draken are just in general like Jadis, and this is what's confusing. You have Nectis and Nyktos.
Yes.
That's the thing with her names where I'm like, stop me.
Learn different names. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But just change the first letter.
The Victors.
Yes, the Victor who's a Victor. Also, Malek and Malik.
Yes.
Come on.
Oh, and everyone has two names. Even Sarah is Seraphina, and Poppy is actually Penelope.
Yeah.
So it's like
Sarah makes sense because it's just shortened,
Right,
Sarah.
yeah, but it switches off like what they like who calls her what. Everyone has like certain people call different characters different things, even if it's a nickname or their other name that they go by or whatever.
It's the same thing as like Hawk and Castile. Poppy calls Hawk sometimes when she's very sentimental and calls him Castile and pretty much in front of everybody else. And Seraphina does the same thing with Nyktos and she calls him Ash sometimes. It's because there was this like hidden identity thing, and I'm like, it's confusing. I don't know what to call them when like describing the series or describing these books.
And I feel like too, if you're describing it to someone and you called Hawk Castile, then you would like spoil them.
Exactly. Yes.
So I just go by Hawk because I never know. Like I just don't want to get into the habit of saying Castile.
In videos where I'm like recommending From Blood and Ash for like the first time, I will use Hawk. Yeah. But if like we're in a live show like this where we're obviously discussing spoilers and like I know most of the people who are joining, I will say the names. Like I'll go back and forth because I know for sure. But I've had to edit out a lot of times where I'm like, Castile, I'm like, nope, can't say that name.
Whoops. Yeah, that is totally confusing. Okay, and it was on the opposite side. Was there any scene that you hated or that it really frustrated you, or it was like you could have skipped all of these?
When Seraphina goes out to the Blood Forest,
yes.
I'm like, the only point of that was to show us that in From Blood and Ash, when there's a blood forest, that's when God's blood was spilled. I just get so tired of like the female characters when they go off on their own. I'm like, don't do that. There's a reason why they tell you don't do that. Don't do it.
At the same time, while I agree that was the stupidest thing, like seriously, at the same time, I would still prefer her teaching us something by showing us over the question and answer periods of the book. I think those were my least favorite because it is so lazy.
Yeah,
so lazy.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I was like, seriously, why is she doing this? And he figured it out. He's like, you're jealous.
It was so frustrating to me, that scene, because it was like, whatever, I will go out. And it's like, literally, she's like, whatever, I'll go out to this forest. And it's like, you should have put together, as of now, that also taking care and healing animals and healing stuff, it's bringing bad stuff to you. And you're doing it over and over and over in a place that you've been told that it's dangerous. What do you think will happen? And it just like, it seems very toxic to me. Like you want attention and it just not, that's the only thing that to me, it was like, Sarah, no.
Yeah.
I still liked everything else, but that part, no. Also, I really hated the story of Sotoria. Like, I cannot with that. I cannot. Like,
I didn't fully understand it, to be honest.
So it seems that Cole's, like Nyctus's dad twin, fell in love with this woman, which was Sotoria. And then he was obsessed about her and she died. Like, she was scared and she died. And he begged his brother to bring her back. He said no. And then that's why the war between the primals started. He wanted to be the primal of life to be able to bring Sotoria back to life.
Okay, so I guess. Okay.
Once that he is the primal of life, he brings back Sotoria. And once that she's there, she's like, no, and she dies again. And so when Nyctus's dad discovers that Colis is gonna forever be bringing back to life Sotoria, he just marks her soul, so that she never gets kind of like into the Shadowlands, so that she can never be brought back, and she will just reincarnate over and over and over. And it seems that Sera
What's the Shadowlands?
Sorry, what?
What's the Shadowlands?
Like the place where your soul is, and then the primal of life will be able to take your soul and put it again, let's say, like a limbo kind of. I imagine it like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he marked the soul of Sotoria. She will be forever reborn, and Sera is now Sotoria.
And see, my theory was the reason she's, and this is obviously, I don't know, y'all know that I haven't read any of these other books, but my theory is that then Poppy is her too. That's my theory. That's like what I'm predicting for the future, and that's why like she was trying to make them so similar.
But yeah, I cannot believe this is the first time that I'm thinking about these. What do you think, Tori? You first.
I thought about that for sure, and I haven't reread A Light in the Flame yet. And honestly, spoiler alert, I did not. I think I gave that book 3 stars. I'm interested to see how I feel about rereading it. I don't even remember what happens in that book. So, from A War of Two Queens, I don't think any of like my theory is very similar to yours, Hannah. I don't think we get anything. So I'm very interested to see the rest of the books though, because that was my theory of why Seraphina and Poppy were introduced so similarly. Because there is something there. But I haven't picked up any clues in the From Blood and Ash world yet. So
because we know she's gonna die. Well, she's supposed to die before she's 21, or when she's 21, like something like that. Unless this other possibility happens and they fall in love or something like that. Very Beauty and the Beast kind of, but she's the Beast.
True.
And so that was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I definitely get that theory too, but
I cannot.
You never thought of that, Issa?
No.
Really?
What?
Really? This is the first time, and I'm like, but of course. I mean, yes, it's so obvious now to me. Like, maybe it's not, but as a theory, it's very solid.
What I have a theory. This is just one that I thought of because we know who Nyctos' sons are, and we know that there is like one. What is it? Malek and not Malek.
Yeah, Malek and
is Poppy's dad, right? I think there's something with like the flame that is in Poppy, because it's never stated that is she a god, is she this, is she that, but the Wolven call her Laisa. Yeah, Laisa. Same thing.
Yes.
Same thing they call Seraphina. So I think there obviously is something there where Seraphina could be like reincarnated after X amount of time into Poppy, but then we don't see. Oh, what book was that? Did we see that yet? I think that's in the War of Two Queens.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yes.
Did Nyctos' dad know that Sarah was reincarnated Seraphina, or reincarnated, what's her name?
Yes. It's Sotoria. So yes, he was the one marking that soul.
Yes.
So yes, he knows like he was the one basically making Sotoria reborn constantly.
Why did he do that? He wanted her to be.
He did not want Colis to bring her back to life every time, because that will unbalance the scales of life and death. So he is like, okay, your soul will go to another body, but you will die. You won't remember anything. Meanwhile, with Colis, he was like, you again, but with all of the memories, like never dying,
Oh.
never dying.
Yeah.
Same
It's kind of one
person.
of those things where it's like, you know how people ask you, like, would you want to be reincarnated all over again in your life and know everything in your past lives, or would you rather just start a new life? It's like a take on that.
Right.
I see that.
Yeah. And what would you do if that were the case? If you were granted that option, what would you do?
I do not want to be reincarnated as a human. I would reincarnate as a tree.
Really? That's beautiful.
I'm over being a human. I'll just say that. I want to experience something else.
It sounds beautiful to be a tree.
Yeah.
What about you, Hannah?
I'd be a cat.
Ooh.
I was hoping for Tori to say a cat. Like, it was like, yes, cats have the
Their
better
lives
life.
are so easy. Well, unless they're like unless they're like,
Yeah, stray.
But if a house cat with a good family, I would be a house cat with a good family and just lays about all day.
Yeah.
And just bitch for more food.
Yeah. I mean, it will take powerful magic to grant us that wish, though.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what did you guys feel about the magic in this world? Because to me, it felt at least like it had a bigger role in this book, at least. And it was beautiful also to see how Poppy's magic, it's kind of like the reflection of what we see in Sera and Niktos. What were your thoughts, guys?
It's just cool to see. I mean, now that I have a basic understanding of the world, it's actually cool to see what she did with this book, because we already have that understanding. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I felt like it was easier to understand because I already know kind of all the other things.
Yeah.
I thought it was definitely interesting how she had Seraphina knowing how to bring people back from death, but not knowing how to heal people, or that she could heal people. Like the mirror of Poppy. Though at the same time, that I'm like, wouldn't you know that you can't, if you can bring people back from it, you would think that would be like I don't know, but I've never had magical healing powers before.
No.
So no.
I think it's cool.
I can do really good tea or herbal salve. You know what I mean? I'm good at that. But like,
I think it's really cool with Seraphina and Poppy is that with Poppy, it was an evolution of, oh, I can do one little thing. I can do one this and one this. And then it gets bigger. And then it's like, oh my God, I can bring someone back to life, basically. Right. Yeah. And I think it's cool that with Seraphina, it's kind of like, go big or go home. She was like, I can just bring someone back to life just right from the get-go. And then now she's kind of learning to tamper down that power just a little bit into more, okay, heal a cut, heal this, heal that, I think it's cool to see that.
Yeah. I think like she's still in that training path, right? Like back at almost the end where this woman Gemma comes in and she's like, okay, I'm going to heal you. And she's like, but I shouldn't, because they've already put together that if she uses her powers, like people is going to notice and she's going to be chased down. But we have all of this dragon also kind of like forcing her to use the power. So I'm not sure really what's the connection between the magic, the dragon, like, are they connected to her because she is the primal of life and the dragon were created by the primal of life? Is that why they are vibing or not?
It's the same thing, I think, with the Wolven and and Poppy. I think it's similar. I don't understand it fully yet, but I think it's something very similar to that. And I know Jess said this, there's a lot that happens in the next book, The War of Two Queens, that I don't want to say too much because I can't remember which book it's in, but I'm pretty sure it's in The War of Two Queens, where they learn more things.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't remember. Oh, well, we will reread soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about Niktos having the emotions magic? I really like that it was, in this case, the male character being able to feel the emotions rather than the female.
I liked it. I thought it would have been more impactful if we had his POV.
Yes.
Good point.
And I think just in general, it would have been easier world building wise if we had 2 POVs, or even 2, or maybe and even like a third. I don't know, but I would have liked to have Nyktos' POV in this book.
Yeah, I said that about, I think, Castile's point of view in Flesh and Fire, Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and I think I said that in Gilded Bones. That's my one thing that sometimes with fantasy, having 2 point of views, I know why for Blood and Ash she only did Poppy's point of view, right? Because obviously she was trying to keep the secret of who Hawking Castile was. But I feel like she would have a better way to explain things and not the question and answer thing if we got 2 points of views. I think that
definitely
Blood and Ash and in this world too. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Which is why it's frustrating that she's coming out with with Castile's point of view. I'm like, but is this just going to be like a regurgitation of From Blood and Ash just from his point of view? Or are we going to get like completely a continuation of the story from his point of view? You know, like, why do we not get both of them together?
Yes. Agreed. I'm actually very nervous about that book. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. It really reminds me to Midnight Sun. Like, kind of like the same vibe. I'm not sure, Hannah, if you know it, but from Twilight.
Yeah.
The author, like, brought back Edward's point of view.
She's coming out with, like, 3 books this year. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
She's doing Castile's point of view, right?
Yes.
In July.
Yes.
1 in November.
I think.
And one in October, too. She's doing one that's not in it's like a standalone.
Yes, I did see that. Yes.
It isn't in the same world.
No.
I don't believe so.
I mean, from the title and what I've read about it and I've heard about it, it's not the one in October.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's coming out July, October, and November. 3 different books in like 4 months.
Yeah. I am concerned of the quality then, but I really think that if she does a standalone, that she has lots of potential, because she don't need to create this massive story like 5-6 books long. Like, you have a plot that is quite good and a story that has good romance, and I think that she can, if she sets herself to just narrow everything down to 1 book, I think that she will simplify on stuff that now it's like, but why? So hopefully we like that.
Yeah, and I've said this, I don't know if I've told you guys this, but she has a eye disorder where she's slowly losing her sight. Oh, no. So I think that's part of the reason why she's putting out so many books, is that she's trying to get her ideas down as quickly as possible.
That makes sense.
Before she's not able to do that. And that goes to the quality part of it. And, you know, it's as an author, it's hard when you're dealing with something like that, where you're like, I don't know if I could do that, you know, how long I can do this. So I want to get as much as I can out because I have all these stories that I want to, but then I feel like maybe the quality drops a little bit. So I totally get that, Isa. I'm a little nervous too.
We shall see if we like it. I think that at the end of the day, she's still able to create stories that are really engaging, right? Yeah. Like, at least, even if I finish the story and I'm like, not a favorite, I've enjoyed overall the path, the journey. So it's not that, you know, overall the stories are bad. It's just sometimes it frustrates me because everything has potential. Sorry, what?
I said no. Well, except for A Crown of Gilded Bones. But it's just my opinion, though.
No, I agree. I think that with the From Blood and Ash, she's taking too long to finish this story. Like, yes, ended already.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping for one to be as good as A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I still have hope. Like, I have hope. I have hope.
I'm excited for the War of Two Queens, though. I'm excited for that live show next month.
Yeah. Do you guys remember when we're going to be doing that, so that we can also say it here, so that people that is watching, you remember to join us for the War of Two Queens next month in
4th at 2 p.m. Eastern, June 4th.
Yep.
That day.
Which is a Sunday. So we usually have been doing them on Saturdays, so this is a Sunday just for everyone.
Yes.
Yep.
Lovely.
I'm excited, especially the way A Crown of Guild and Bones ended. I'm really excited to see like what happens in this next book because I think like it's gonna pop off, and I'm hoping at least.
I'm excited.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited really for the discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not really anticipating that much the reread, but
what did you guys rate them the first time for War of Two Queens?
I actually don't remember. Let me check it out. I don't believe that I went higher than 3 stars. I think
I know A Light in the Flame I rated it lower. I rated it 3 stars. So War of Two Queens I rated 5 stars.
Really?
And I think, and for me, it's because Poppy and Castile are like ride or die for me. Like I love them so much that just being in that world is so like nostalgic for me because it's one of the first fantasy romances I've ever read. So, and I've said that when I review it, is that I'm just so connected to those characters that I can overlook some of those things, which I'm interested when I do a reread if I will still feel the same way.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I just checked. For me, it was 4 stars. But so it's not, so it's not bad. But I'm very generous with the stars when I finish a book. And then when time passes, I'm like,
Well, you drop stars. See, I rate low, and then I'll wait like, and if it stays in my head for a few months, and I think back at it, or even like a year or whatever, I'll go back, and I do it often. I go back and raise ratings on my Goodreads.
Gosh,
but I always rate the lower end. Like this one, I'm like, it's either a 3 or a 4 star. So I'm gonna rate it a 3 star.
Yeah.
And then I'll raise it later if it kind of stays in my head in a good way.
Yep.
2 different ways to do it.
Yeah. I should do that. But I just always get so excited. And I'm like, this is fantastic. And then it's like, meh, was it though?
Yeah.
But well, alrighty. Is there anything else you guys would like to share, or anyone else? Drop a comment if you want us to discuss something else, or if you have any question to this lovely, beautiful woman.
My laptop is at 1%, so if I like cut out, it's not
okay. No,
perfect. It's just like I didn't realize that my laptop was like about to die. So I'm not to be rude. I promise I'm not leaving because I want to, because my laptop will shut off.
No, thank you. But then, and exactly that's fine. I mean, it was great that she mentioned it. You're back, Tori.
Tori, do you know you're back? Okay,
okay. I think like she doesn't really see it. Anyway, I don't believe there's any other comments, so let's wrap it up. Thank you, Hannah, Tori, and Jess from the comments. It was fantastic, and everyone that interacted, thank you so much. It was fantastic. Yes, we have here Tori saying my laptop indeed died. And so yes, we're super excited to see you in the next discussion, so please join us next month, and thank you again. Bye. Okay.